So yeah, my electric blue acara love each other a little too much, and now I've got babies. So what am I going to do with those little guys? Let's talk about it. So yeah, I only had these electric blue acara for about a month before I ended up with babies. And not that long, so when conditions are right, it can be really easy to breed them. But before I get into the fry, let me just tell you a little bit about what makes the electric blue acara so freaking cool. I used to have a single electric blue acara that I bought from my local fish store, but he died right away. And I swore this oath:
I will never buy another fish if I don't know where he was bred.
Then I found myself at Fish World, because where else would fish nerds go on a Friday night, and I saw 3 gorgeous electric blue acara. I didn't even ask where they were bred, and I just bought them. Forgot the oath completely. Also picked up eel longoria at the same time, my beautiful tire track eel. Don't know where she was bred either. Don't do as I do, just as I say. But these acara are gorgeous, and at least 2 of them are really into each other, obviously. That brilliant powder blue isn't something that you find in the cichlid world very often. The turquoise peacock is one exception. One thing I like about EBAs is the layered look of the scales. Each scale really stands out, making it look different than most cichlids do. They're also a good fish if you don't have a lot of room in your tank. Since they only get up to about 6 inches or so, you can easily fit them in a smaller tank. If you research tank size, you'll find that about 30 gallons is the minimum tank size for one of them. Add 15 for each additional fish. But if you know me, then you know that I like to give my fish extra room than the minimum required space. So I'd always go for at least a 55, but preferably a 75. I know someone out there is blowing their top right now. I've got 5 of them in a 10-gallon tank and they're doing great. Well, I'd like to stick you in a 10-gallon tank. What do you think about that? In nature, these guys come from slow-moving waters in South and Central America, like rivers, streams, and lakes. Water temp should be about 72 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. A pH of 7 to 7.5 is best, but if they were tank bred, then that gives you some wiggle room. I don't chase my pH, so what I have is what they get. They're peaceful fish who like to stay out of everyone's business. Give them some places to hide and keep them away from super aggressive cichlids, and they should do pretty well. You can put them with fish like Oscars too, as long as they're not bite-sized, but make sure they're not bite-sized. Those mouths can get pretty big on Oscars. But you might want to steer clear of anything like putting them with a JD or a Jack Dempsey. I might be trying the JD thing, but only if I move them to my 10-foot long tank because there's so much freaking space in there. Other EBAs are good tank mates too, but try to keep the number divisible by 2, like I did with the 3 I have. Wait a second. All in all, very easy fish to keep, and they're really easy to breed, obviously. Once they get up to 4 inches, they'll start having kids. Mine are 3 inches, but they're really horny. So when I first bought the 3 electric blue acara, I didn't even know if they were all males or if there were some females in there, and they all looked like males to me. So I brought them home, and all was just like normal for the first almost a month. Then right around the month mark, one of them started setting themselves apart over in the corner. And I thought it might be breeding, but I couldn't see any eggs or anything like that around. She had a really dark looking face, and the rest of her was pretty pale. And that looked strange. It almost looked like a helmet. So at that point, I started doing some research and found out that, yeah, that's breeding dress, and there must be some eggs around somewhere, even though I couldn't see them. And I couldn't find any eggs anywhere. Until
you will subscribe. Ding ding.
She started not only hanging out in this corner, but digging more pits too. I looked in these pits for days and couldn't see any eggs at all. Looked on the sides of the rocks and the aqua decor standing logs, but I couldn't find them anywhere. And now she's getting a bit defensive of this corner.
I said everybody out!
And finally the blinds were removed from my eyes and I saw them. Little black specks kind of bobbing around in one of the pits. I don't breed fish, and my nutjob African cichlids are mouth brooders, which means the females keep the eggs and fry in their mouths for quite a while. Everything about African cichlids is weird, by the way. I made a few videos about that very subject, one of which is in the upper right corner. Those Africans are freaky fish. So the female's working overtime, because she has to protect those fry from every fish in the tank. And this is a 24/7 job. She's not just doing this part-time. And Dad will come over occasionally and help out, but he's not into it like she is. So I thought maybe there's something I can do to help relieve some of the stress that she must be feeling. Let me show you what I did. So I added some small glass cups to help create a kind of fortified wall, you know, like something you might see in Lord of the Rings. And with these clear cups, she could still see fish coming her way, so she could easily kick their ass when they got too close. I told you I had 3 EBAs, and I was a little worried about this odd guy out, but all he ever had to endure was a few minor quick chases. No torn fins or visible signs of stress, so that's good. Because catching fish in this tank is a very bad experience with all this decor. I'm not a breeder, so I'm working on the fly with a lot of hopefully common sense and even more Googling for answers. She is afraid of nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing. These are really peaceful fish until they breed, and then you'd better just keep out. So what are those fry gonna eat? I mean, Mama doesn't have anything to feed them, but I do. I have some fry starter food from Northfin to feed them, but Mama doesn't care that I'm trying to help. This intrusive arm and hand
Must die.
She's taking huge chunks of flesh out with each bite. Well, at least in her mind she is. This food is just about a powder, definitely small enough for these little ones to eat. The babies like to move around to different pits, so I'm adding some more Lord of the Rings barriers. Daddy inside of one of the cups, but he also likes to travel around the tank. Mama never leaves the nest though, and with good reason. Look at the crafty red-tailed shark slyly moving in for a tasty treat. He's no match for her though. Man, she's formidable. Look at him pretending like he doesn't care about this fry, but he'll be back for another ass whooping. So the day after I found these fry, I woke up at 2 in the morning thinking about what am I gonna do with these fry as they start to grow? And I thought, well, maybe I'll just make a bigger barricade in the tank to help protect them. But once they start free swimming, they're just gonna get picked off one by the other fish because, as you probably already know, if a fish is big enough to fit in any other fish's mouth, then it's gonna get eaten. It doesn't matter how aggressive the fish is. So I started thinking, well, maybe I just need to get him out of this tank. So how do I get him out? I've seen people use nets, but that seems like a really difficult way to do it, especially in this tank. They made their way into one of the barrier cups, which gave me an idea. I could just lift it out and then get them in one fell swoop. However, these cups are too small. I know, I'll upgrade to one of my big jars I use for drinking huge quantities of milk. Oh, I love milk. I have to move some rocks around and I'm getting rid of the smaller cups to make sure that the jar is the only option to move into. And all the while, Mama's tearing me apart with her nefarious nibbles. Well, that'll do the trick, except they never go into it. All right, you cute little bastards. After calling Fish World in Spokane, Washington and talking with Bobby, the owner, I've decided to use a shrimp siphon that has very little suction to suck them all out into a small pitcher. A bit traumatic for him, I'm sure, but I think it's the best way. Maybe you know better. If you do, add a comment and maybe I'll upgrade my trick to your better one. Mama isn't even afraid of the plastic. Doesn't she know that there are microplastics coming off this thing? Just kidding, but I do have a video on that too, upper right. There really is hardly any suction, so this has taken a while. I went to Petco and took advantage of their half-off sale for a new 20-gallon long. I should have filled the tank up before I caught the fish, but I was stupid and I didn't do that. Gently pouring the water with the fry into the tank. And now because of my lack of foresight, I'll spend the next 30 minutes adding water super slowly to the tank, pushing the pitcher up against the glass so I don't freak everyone out with a huge splash or current. The good news is that I already had everything I needed to get the breeding tank up and running, including a seeded sponge filter with lots of beneficial bacteria. Instant cycle. Oh yes. All I have are some rocks, so I'll make a little church for them to seek sanctuary, and a few extra rocks so they can investigate the tank. I'm not adding any sand, so it'll be easy to clean. Let's feed him some more Northfin fry starter. This is too much, I know. I'll suck some extra food out later. And you think back in the 180, Mama would be more traumatized by the removal of all of her babies. But she was like,
"Oh no, not my babies. Don't take my precious babies."
but also, what time is supper? I'm a little peckish. So was I a good fish dad or a bad one? Let me know. And what do you think I should do with the electric blue Acara adults? Should I leave them in the 180 or move them over to San Quentin or split them up? Remember to subscribe for future updates. And here's your bonus for the week. Do something unexpectedly nice for someone. You'd be surprised at how much influence you have over other people's happiness. And with that, that's a wrap.